So let us start with Mervin-Ponroff-Verlis reduction. So in this reduction, what's happening is we have a ketone reacting with an alcohol so that this ketone get reduced to the alcohol and this alcohol gets oxidized to ketone. Okay. To make this reaction to go more in the forward direction, we need to make sure that this ketone 2 will have less boiling point than this, so that we can maintain this at little close to the boiling point, so that this ketone can escape easily, and once you can distillate, the reaction can move in the forward direction. We do the same reaction in the backward direction at lower temperature, and that is called Oppenier's oxidation, where we take a ketone, where we take an alcohol and convert them into ketone. We are oxidizing that to ketone. Anyways, our objective here is to convert this ketone into ketone into alcohol. Now let's see that how it is been done. So we have isopropoxy aluminium taken, and let's see the mechanism what is happening. The lone pair present on oxygen will attack on the aluminium because it has an empty orbital. As it attacks here, this would get negative charge, oxygen will get positive charge. Now see these propoxy groups. This propoxy group, on this carbon there is a hydrogen present on it, and since aluminium has a negative charge on it, electrons are pushed towards oxygen here. So as electron starts getting pushed here, this bond will break and it will start making double bond. And as it happens, this hydrogen makes it transfer towards this carbon because now carbon has sufficient delta positive. Okay, and as it does, this pi bond will start moving on oxygen. So this is a concerted step which you will see, where bond breaking happens from this end, hydrate transfer or hydrate shift happens to this carbon, and this double bond breaks into single bond. Okay, what is the result of that? The result of that is this entire you can see this what do you call this, maroon color or violet, some color, violet maybe. So this violet color thing, you can see that becomes a ketone. Okay, this part of aluminium, propoxy aluminium, has become ketone, and rest of this complex is the way it is. So this hydrogen is the one which got transferred here. Now the reaction happens with alcohol. The alcohol which is present here, right, that will now attack on the aluminium because now aluminium has an empty orbital. Okay, as it attacks, you can get this aluminium complex forming. So this red one which I have taken is that alcohol which we are taking. Now again the same thing happens here. So you can see aluminium has negative charge on it. Got it? So it will start pushing electrons. So where does it push? It will start pushing electrons towards this side. So which means this bond will break and oxygen will take away the electrons, and from here it will take away that H plus. So it would become alcohol in this form. Okay, and what happened to the rest of the molecule is the same propoxy remained. So initially whatever the propoxy group which you have taken, okay, that is tripropoxy, isopropoxy aluminium, it is the same propoxy aluminium which has finally obtained. That is the reason the alcohol which you are choosing should match to the structural features of this, so that it can act like a catalyst eventually. So therefore, if you see the products, this is one product, see the product line here. So we got this as one product and this as the other product. So this is the one, ketone 1, which got converted into alcohol, and alcohol which got converted into ketone. So that was the other reduction reaction. The last reduction is sodium in liquid ammonia. We used to do it as a Birch reduction. The mechanism which we saw it for sodium in ethanol, it is the same mechanism which we will see in sodium and ammonia. Okay, ammoniated electrons, if you recall from group 1 elements, right? So same thing happens, ammoniated electrons are present, those electrons will attack on carbon and thereby a radical is prepared here, and this O minus will take away H plus from ammonia, and those radical again becomes carbanion, takes one more H plus. So that's how you will get this alcohol form. So sodium in liquid ammonia, sodium in ethanol, or lithium in ethanol, all of them work in a similar way. So any of the reagent is given, make sure you do the reduction of aldehydes or ketones. Now finally I am summarizing all the reducing agents. Suppose if you have aldehydes and ketones and you have to convert them into respective alcohols, what are all the reagents that are used? You can check it out. H2 by nickel, lithium aluminum hydrate, sodium boron hydrate, Dibal H, Mervin Pondroff Verley reduction, sodium in liquid ammonia, sodium in ethanol, lithium in ethanol, LiBH4, B2H6, but B2H6 is very slow, so usually we do not consider much. So these are all the reagents which can be used for converting aldehyde or ketones into alcohols. Okay, I would suggest before the exam you just go through this summarization sheet once again. Okay, same way, acids, if they are converting into alcohols, we have seen H2 in the presence of ruthenium with carbon coating, we can get this reaction done into alcohols, or we can say cupric oxide and chromate, amalgam, kind of what do you say, alloy. So if you take these two and H2, then also these acids will convert into respective alcohols, or lithium aluminum hydride B2H6. B2H6 is the best, right? Next, esters converting into alcohols. Esters can be converted to alcohols by using this same reagent, or lithium aluminum hydride B2H6, but B2H6 relatively very slow. Again I'll write this as slow reaction. Okay, Dibal H will happen, Dibal H will happen, but Dibal H if you maintain at low temperature it will end up at aldehydes. Sodium in ethanol will make this reaction. Next we can see amides converting into amines. Best reagents are these two only, lithium aluminum hydride and B2H6. Cyanides, if you have to convert into aldehydes only, we don't have to go to alcohols. We don't have to end up here. We don't want this reaction to take place. We only want to end up these cyanides to stop at aldehydes. Then we can use Dibal H. Same way cyanides, if at all you have to end up to amines, then lithium aluminum hydride and B2H6. These two are best. Next, RCOCl, if you have to end up at aldehydes, these three are the best. This one we are going to learn in aldehydes and ketones chapter, that is Rosenmund reduction, H2 in palladium barium sulfate. RCOCl, if you want to convert directly to alcohol, then we can use all of this. Okay, so just go through that summary sheet once again. Now let us come to the last preparation points, which is industrial preparation. So far we are there still in the preparation reactions only. So you know that CO plus H2 water gas, if you treat that with reagents like ZNO and Cr2O3, right? You can take the summary sheet later, guys. First start with this, write the heading as industrial preparation. And if we need to prepare methanol industrially, we use water gas and treat that with ZNO Cr2O3 around 300 to 400 degrees centigrade at a very high pressure of around 250 to 300 atm. When we do that, we will get methanol. Industrially, this is how it is prepared. If you want to make ethanol, right, you may have seen this in surface chemistry also in catalysis. Sucrose can be converted into respective glucose and fructose by hydrolysis in the presence of an enzyme, okay, and that is invertase. So in the presence of invertase you will get glucose. Once you get the glucose, it is easy to convert into alcohol by zymase. Both of them are catalyst, biocatalyst, which are enzymes. Okay, invertase and zymase. Note down. Next, let's see about the physical properties of alcohols. What are the physical properties we need to check here in this chapter? Mainly when you compare alcohol with ethers, because this chapter is actually a combination of both alcohols and ethers. Next week we will be studying ethers. So as of now you can see, if you compare alcohols and ethers, what is the major difference? One is the dipole moment. Okay, the dipole moment of ethanol, if you compare, it is around 1.69 dB units, while if you compare that with ethers, it is around 1.30 dB units. Because it has more dipole moment, we can expect that it would have high boiling point. It is around 78 degrees, while ethers is around minus 25 degrees. So you can see huge difference because of hydrogen bonding and high dipole moment. Now when you compare the boiling point of isomeric alcohols like N-butane, okay, the tertiary butane, or secondary butane, butanol, or tertiary butanol. So if you compare these type of butanols here of similar molecular mass, then more the branching, less will be the boiling point, and more the chain length, more will be the boiling point. You have come across that, so just keep writing this. You can see, if in case if you are comparing different molar mass or increasing molar mass, then boiling point usually will always increase. So this is around 64.7 degrees. We have just seen this is around 78 degrees, this is around 97 degrees. These are the boiling points of propanol, ethanol and methanol. Next, if you see lower alcohols, right, they are usually soluble in water, which means if you check out lower molecular weight alcohols like methanol, ethanol, up to butanol, they are usually soluble, and their solubility keeps decreasing as the alkyl chain length increases. Always remember, if the alkyl chain keeps increasing, always the solvation decreases in water, right? Now suppose if the if the branching is increasing, okay, it is becoming secondary or tertiary, it becomes very difficult to get solvated, so hence solubility will decrease, right? So the next point is about viscosity. Viscosity, as you have, suppose if you consider polyhydric alcohols, so which means this is a monohydric alcohol, this is dihydric, trihydric. So if you have increasing OH groups, right, so their viscosity will increase, because more and more forces of interactions, more hydrogen bonding is observed within the molecules, right? So glycerol in fact is, that it is very viscous liquid, glycerine what you say. Another aspect which is given in NCERT is to compare the bond angle and bond length. Okay, so if you consider these three groups, okay, one is alcohol, regular alcohols, phenols and ethers. So when you compare all these three functional groups, what you will generally see is the bond length here is around 96 picometer. Not that you have to remember here, we just need to know the comparison. It is around 142 picometers. While here if you check out the bond length, it is around 136 picometers, and here bond length is around 141 picometers. This is the bond length. Now if you see the bond angle, here it is around 108 degrees 9 minutes, and here it is around 109 degrees, this bond angle, okay, this bond angle. And if you see this bond angle here, it is around 117 degrees. So what we are observing here is that the bond angle of right, so bond angle of methoxyethane is more compared to that of phenols compared to that of alcohols. The reason is, the bulkiness of these groups. So it has two bulky groups here, so because of which the bond angle increases. Note it down, guys. And CO bond length, if you consider between methanol and phenol, if you see these two, here you can see methanol is more than phenol because of the because of the double bond character due to lone pair. On phenols, you know that lone pair will support the benzene ring, so that's why its CO bond length is smaller. If you couldn't get the values, at least just write down the bond angle and bond length, how they are varying. Now see acidity. If you check out the acidity of alcohols in aqueous medium, it is usually found that methanol is more acidic than ethanol than this, because of the conjugate base being more solvated, which means if you check out CH3O minus, this will get more solvated as compared to that of ETO minus, as compared to that of this, and so on. They will get more solvated. I hope all of you understand in this language. Every student should know these terminologies. Next, if it is in gaseous phase, what would happen? Suppose if you have more bulky groups here, okay, we have O and H here, got it? So if you have more bulky groups here, right, these bulky groups will disperse the lone pair electrons of oxygen, got it? Because of which the ability to break this oxygen hydrogen bond increases. So what it has been seen that tertiary is more than secondary, more than primary than methanol in gaseous state. Normally when you write pK values, that is all for aqueous state, right? Don't worry about the reasoning also, it's a very vague way of understanding, but just make sure you know that in gaseous phase it will be opposite. No strong, otherwise no strong evidence or reason is given for that. Please write down. In aqueous solution, solvation is the important factor. In gaseous state, the dispersion of electrons is more important feature. Right. Same thing, if you see methanol with fluorine, chlorine and bromine substitution, okay, so fluoromethanol, chloromethanol and bromomethanol, if you consider in aqueous solution, definitely this would be more, okay, because fluorine will exhibit strong minus I effect as well. On top of that, it would increase the top of that it will increase the solvation also. Now in gaseous phase, right, it depends upon both the factors, how strong withdrawing it is, how much it will disperse the electrons, away from here. So if you consider those two factors, chlorine has been better than bromine and fluorine. Again, this is purely experimental. I would suggest you remember that. And you won't be asked for other cases like ethanol or propanol. If nothing is given, always take acidic solution, okay? Nothing is mentioned. Honestly, so far in JEE, they never asked about gaseous phases and so on. It's all about aqueous phase only. Now, one thing we know that alcohols are generally weaker than water except methanol, correct? Water's pKa is around 15.7 while this is around 15.5. So methanol is slightly more acidic than water, okay guys? So on the same logic, if you check out ROH and NaOH, if at all we try to react, suppose if the reaction happens, this OH minus will take away this H plus, then it will form water. So general alcohols, okay, they are less acidic, got it, as compared to that of water, which is more acidic. So hence you don't see OH minus reacting with ROH easily to form alkoxides, okay. They are very comparable, so the equilibrium can be shifted onto right hand side by adding excess amount of NaOH. But usually we don't make this reaction, we don't need that. Just make a note of that. Alcohols in NaOH do not usually give alkoxides. Another property of alcohols is that it does not turn blue litmus into red. Give one more reading in NCERT, that should be sufficient enough in terms of physical properties. Now let us get to the chemical reactions. In chemical reactions, we will study two aspects in alcohols. One, breaking OH bond. So basically we will be interested in breaking oxygen and hydrogen bond. And second, this is the first set of reactions we will see. Second set of reactions is breaking carbon and oxygen bond. Okay, so first let us see all the reactions which involve oxygen hydrogen bond breakage. Okay, give the heading as chemical reactions. I write down first one. We will see reactions involving OH bond cleavage. So in the first reaction here, if you take alcohol and add any metal to that, okay, so any solid metal, if you add it to alcohol here, correct, so that metal will release electrons and thereby this will become alkoxide and H2 gas will leave. pK value of H2 is around 38. Okay, if you check out the pK value, so check out the pK value of H2, it is around 38 and this is in the range of 20. pK is in the range of 20 for alcohols. So definitely the reaction will progress in the forward direction. The metals which are preferably used are sodium, potassium and aluminum. They are highly electropositive metals, so they give better reaction here. So this is a standard stoichiometric reaction. You may have come across that. You would be given that alcohol is reacting with aluminum. Find the number of moles of hydrogen gas at STP. See the next reaction, alkylation. Alkylation is when you are trying to react that with some R group here. For example, if you take alcohol and try to react with alkyl halide, we can do this. We have done this before also. Okay, if you just recall, we have done this reaction. What would happen in this reaction? First, we know that alcohol ROH in the presence of sodium, we can expect it will form alkoxide RO minus Na plus and half H2O gas. Alkoxides are powerful nucleophiles, and as long as we have SN2 ready, if this is SN2 ready, just keep recalling SN2 ready. What does that mean? It means we can have methyl, primary, secondary, allyl, benzyl, any of that form where X should be chlorine, bromine or iodine. So in all of these cases, we know that RO minus will attack R dash and X minus will leave, and the reaction will drive by SN2 mechanism. So through SN2 mechanism, we can see that X minus will leave, and the product what you will get is ethers. So here we will get this as RO R dash. Okay, keep on reminding these type of reactions, guys. If at all it was a chlorine here and you are replacing that with iodine, right? Instead of using directly Na, I can use NaI also, NaI acetone. We call that as Finkelstein reaction. So keep revising that. So RO minus attacks here, forms ethers. So this is an alkylation which has been done on RO minus. See the next reaction. Next reaction is where you took alcohol and reacting this with ether, sulfonate ether. Okay, so basically it's like a sulfuric acid, but instead of H we have methyl group now. This will also go for an SN2 mechanism and will get ethers. See how it is. The lone pair present on oxygen will attack on methyl because this is a better leaving group, right? It is like tosyl group. Check out, this is more like tosyl group only. So SO3 minus would be very stabilized. So this group will easily leave. It is a better leaving group, I would say. This is a good leaving group. So O will attack there, so you will get this one, okay, and the O minus which has come, it will take away this H plus, and that's how you will get this OH on this side. We will be ending up with ROME, ether. But it has one more methyl group, so both methyls can be replaced here. So second mole can also attack here. This O minus can leave here. We will get the same group here. Again, this O minus can take this H plus, and finally we can get ROME. And what is the final product left? You will have sulfuric acid. If you take this CH2N2, see, structure of CH2N2 will be like this: CH2 minus and N2 plus. And then you treat that with alcohols, the same reaction can be seen. First, CH2N2, the lone pair present on carbon, will act like a base and extract this proton and creates an alkoxide. So we can see first an alkoxide has been made. And as it made, now you can see we have an N2 which is a very strong leaving group, very good leaving group. So as it leaves, O minus will attack. This is done by SN2 mechanism. Again you will get ethers and N2 gas will be released. So in a way, if you observe, all the alkylation reactions are the preparations of ethers. See the next reaction. If we take alcohols and treat that in concentrated H2SO4, okay. So when you treat that in concentrated H2SO4, so alcohols, when you treat that with concentrated H2SO4, they will also give ether if you are operating at around 140 degrees or less than that. If you increase the temperature, they will become alkenes. That we will see in some time at the reaction side of alcohols. As of now, we are only discussing about alkylation. So for alkylation to be done, if you are operating below 140 degrees or up to 140 degrees, reaction will end up at ethers. See how the reaction is happening. The lone pair will first extract this proton. So protonation step is done. So here the names of the steps is also important. Sorry. So this is protonation. So first a protonation is done, then nucleophilic substitution is done. So here on this carbon you can see nucleophilic substitution is done. H2O will come out as the leaving group, and if this is not bulky enough, or rather if it is primary or second primary or methyl group, then we would usually get SN2 reaction. But if it is secondary or tertiary, we will go for SN1 reaction, which means first a carbocation is formed and then ethanol will attack on it. So you would see this reaction is happening by SN2. So we will get this, and then deprotonation step is done. Deprotonation. So in NCERT it has shown this way: HSO4 minus, which is present, is extracting this proton and deprotonation is done. So sometimes you can be asked, like, in this process what are the steps that are involved. First protonation, nucleophilic substitution SN, and then deprotonation, and that's how we will get ethers. Make a note.
Sir,
Yes beta.
sir, it is acidic medium now, so deprotonation not favorable.
See, these
It is
reactions are
acidic
reversible.
medium now.
These reactions are all reversible. Okay. If the reaction is only asked about preparation of ethers, then we will say deprotonation is done. Okay. So we are discussing oxygen and hydrogen bond breakage, in which first we have seen alkylation. Now we will see acylation reactions. Acylation, the famous reaction is esterification. Okay. So if you take ROH alcohol and treat that with an acid, the acyl substitution will happen on this. So this H will go and this entire OC double bond O R dash will get attached on this. Okay. Usually it is always done in acidic medium. Okay. So if you take a simple acid, acid and alcohol, and make that reaction in acidic medium to form an ester that is called Fischer esterification. Give the heading as acylation steps, now in which first we are discussing Fischer esterification. This is an important area in NCERT. With every step it is given. Okay, first let us focus here, stop writing and focus on the mechanism, and then you can write it down. See, like I said, acid is reacting with alcohol in concentrated H2SO4 to give esters and water. Now this mechanism, this reaction does go through SN-TD mechanism. What is happening, you see, first doubt that would come is there is a lone pair present on both these oxygens. You have this oxygen as well as this oxygen. Which oxygen has more ability to attack that H plus? See, this lone pair will attack H plus more. First of all, it is localized. Second thing, as you get H plus on it, you will get a equivalent resonating forms. You can see these two are the equivalent resonating forms. So this conjugate base will become very stable. Okay, so oxygen from here would usually attack and you'll get equivalent resonating structure, which means this form and this form are almost same. So we can have 50-50% of the form here, and this fact is very important for us during problem solving. Okay, so it will get this equivalent resonating structure. So this is step 1. Okay, now if you take any of the form here, the second step is the attack of alcohol as a nucleophile. So which means a nucleophilic addition is being done. So when the nucleophilic addition is done, this pi bond will shift on to oxygen as a lone pair. So which means this is nothing but an SN-TD mechanism, because you can see an sp2 hybridized carbon is converting into an sp3 hybridized carbon, and this reaction usually happens very slow. That would be the rate determining step. So whether the reaction will go faster in the forward direction, it depends upon the stability of this intermediate complex. Got it? So if this complex is more stable, or this intermediate is more stable, the reaction would go at a faster rate. Now stability depends upon what all R groups you are taking, right? If your R and R dash groups are very bulky, then they would have more repulsions and they would be less stable. Got it? So that is the first step. That is the second step which you have seen, where a nucleophilic addition has taken place. Okay, so sp2 carbon has turned into sp3. This is called SN-TD mechanism. Once you have this SN-TD mechanism here, what we are observing here, let's see. The lone pair present on this oxygen will take away this H plus. This is called intramolecular proton transfer. See, proton transfer will always happen to that side where it can leave, the molecule can leave. Okay, because you are adding alcohol that is in sufficient amount, so that that is what is acting as a nucleophilic addition, so that won't leave. So instead the OH group will take away the proton and becomes OH2 here, and OH2 is a good leaving group now. So the lone pair present here will try to remain as double bond, and I'll write it here, the third step. So the lone pair will become double bond here and OH2 will leave. So you can see a leaving group here is H2O. Every step in this is reversible. Okay, just by changing some concentrations or changing some amounts, we can keep shifting the reactions into backward or forward direction. Okay, so OH2 will leave here. So what do we have here now? Double bond OH and OR. Since it is in acidic medium, we can definitely expect that H minus H plus will work out, and then R C double bond O R dash will be formed. And because it is in acidic medium, again it can attack and the reaction will keep going backwards also. Okay. So usually for production of this esters, we always keep some kind of a distillation process. Got it? by converting whatever the ester which is coming into the form of an azeotrope, or water that is coming into the form of an azeotrope, so that the boiling point differences can be seen between ester and the other liquid, and distillation can be done easily. And all those points we will come across in carboxylic acids, but as of now for this chapter we need to learn what is esterification, how it is done. Okay, so 3 steps you can see. First step is about formation of the uh, equivalent resonating forms. Second step is SNTD mechanism. Third step is removal of that H2O group and retaining back the ester form here. The reactivity completely depends upon the stability of that SNTD intermediate. So which means if you have more bulky groups, less stable it would be, correct? So acids has to be as less alkyl as possible. So which means out of these 4, which acid will give better esterification? Formic acid. Similarly, alcohols R group also must be, check out these 2 groups, right? So this R and R dash, they should be as less bulky as possible. So here also if you check out, methanol is better than ethanol, then isopropanol or tert butanol. In case if we have an isotopic oxygen, how does the reaction happen? Check it out. This oxygen, if you check out, observe once again the mechanism very carefully here. This is the oxygen. Now I am just using this color just for the reference for some time. Observe carefully. If this is the oxygen of alcohol, right, which is present here, here, okay, and here, here, and finally here and here, which means the alcoholic oxygen is not lost during the reaction. Okay, correct. Now let us focus on the part of acid. Okay, if you see, this is the oxygen of, this is the oxygen, I'll take some other color, right, this color. You can see this is the oxygen of acid, right, and you can see this OH, this OH2, OH2, and finally it has left, which means the OH of acid and H plus of base, which is the alcohol, is the one which is reacting with each other to form ester. So if you see this case here, this O will definitely be found in the product, right? So you can see that. So that's why if it is an isotopic oxygen, it has to be there on the product. Okay, and you can see that this OH will always come out as water. So whatever water, if at all I write H2O, right? So this oxygen is the one which is coming from acid. So if the isotopic oxygen is on the alcohol, in the product you will definitely found that oxygen with CH3 group with the ester form. Okay, but suppose if you have isotopic oxygen here on the carboxylic acid and this is not isotopic, both of them underwent formation of esters. Now we can have this oxygen retained, or you may not see that oxygen also. Again, this is where it will be helpful to remind once again, I said both of this occurrence are equal probables, right? They are equivalent structures. So you can see this will be 50%, this will be 50%. So if this oxygen was isotopic, imagine if this oxygen was isotopic, right? So which means this oxygen was isotopic, the reaction could have happened here and this OH2 must have left, or this OH2 must have left. So both possibilities are possible, hence you would have 2 products here, one with isotopic oxygen, one without isotopic oxygen. I am hoping all of you understood that. So if the question comes, just be very careful, where is the isotopic oxygen lying? Accordingly point out the products. Same thing happens, see, whether it is here or whether isotopic oxygen is here, these 2 products will be certainly coming, right? And both would be 50-50%. And you can see the overall esterification reaction is reversible. Just mention that line there, that overall esterification reaction is reversible. Now in case I want to make this reaction irreversible, so if I would stop that acid whatever that is forming, correct, so I can be stopping that reaction to go backwards. So what we will do, instead of directly using carboxylic acids, we will start with acid chlorides. It's pretty easy to convert acids into acid chlorides. So first we will convert acids into acid chlorides and then make this reaction. We know that acid chlorides anhydrides are more reactive than acids. So anyways the reaction will have a better rate here. Got it? Second thing, we will make this reaction to happen in pyridine. So pyridine solution, what will it do? Suppose if you check out here, HCl is forming, as the final product, just like water was forming above. Here you can see this Cl and this H is what will leave out finally, right? So that HCl which is coming out as an acid will react with pyridine and become pyridinium chloride salt. So further reaction won't take place anymore. So because there is no acid, we cannot see this, acid hydrolysis happening on the backward direction. Same thing can be done with anhydrates also. So you can take anhydrate, react that with alcohols in the presence of pyridine, and you can get ester, and one part will be, very weak acid, carboxylic acid, which is not sufficient enough for this reaction to pull backwards. Got it? And the other thing will be pyridinium chloride salt. Make a note. This is the way we can make esterification reversible. Sorry, irreversible. What we are doing is acylation, right? And acylation becomes a very important method for determining the number of OH groups present in polyhydroxy alcohols. See, when it comes to carbohydrates, in carbohydrates we'll have lot of hydroxy groups. Okay. So suppose if you have some n number of hydroxy groups here on the chain, we have some n number of hydroxy groups. So this is a long carbohydrate chain, let's say, and it has some n number of hydroxy groups. So we can react that with excess of anhydrate in the presence of pyridine. So we can see the reaction will go only in the forward direction. And we learned that this H is going to get replaced by this AC, correct? Right. So that is what we have learned. This H will completely get replaced by this OAC. So this OAC is replacing this hydrogen. Okay. So we can calculate the molecular mass before the reaction and after the reaction and can evaluate what will be the number. Okay. So in short, if you have molar mass, this has M1 and this has molar mass M2. What extra you are adding? You are adding only an acyl group, right? Instead of this hydrogen, you are making this acyl group. See, what is the molar mass of acyl? ACO is nothing but CH3, not ACO, only AC, right? AC CH3 C double bond O, correct? Now, if you see this acyl, what is the molar mass here? So this is around 24 plus 16 plus 3, so which is 43. Okay, out of which one hydrogen you are replacing anyway, so subtract that hydrogen. So how much is it? 42, correct? So which means if I take this molar mass minus this molar mass divided by 42, that should give me the number of acyl groups that has been attached. So this becomes a simple formula that M2 minus M1 divided by 42 will always fetch us number of acyl groups that has been added. So this type of an integer type is a very typical question in JEE, where a big chain hydrocarbon is given. We need to find out the number of OH group present on it. So we can, if the molar masses are given, we can use this. Okay, those who have finished, just try these questions. Just get just try to evaluate. See, there are 3 hydrides, so we should get the answer 3. So just check out whether you are getting it or not. The molar masses I have already given. The molar mass for after AC, that is acetyl, has been attached, acetylation, it is 218. Reactant side it is 92. So you can see we have 218 minus 92 divided by 42. So we'll get that as 3. In glucose also, right? So in fact, the determination of glucose is one important concept in biomolecules. There we will use the same concept. Okay, so to identify the number of OH groups, here what we do, initially we take the molar mass. After the formation, check out the molar mass here. This is 390. So 390 minus 180 divided by 42. So if you do that, you'll get this as 5. So which means there are 5 hydroxy groups. You can see 4 here, 1 here, total 5, right? So last reaction, I will stop it here. Yeah. Yes, beta, tell me.
Yes, a classic.
Come again.
Sir, class timings till when, sir?
Done. 7. Okay, I'm just finalizing this. Yeah. It's the last one.
Yes.
See, here you can check out there is an alcohol group and an acid group within the molecule. So intramolecular esterification can take place as long as you provide the acidic medium. Intramolecular esterification will happen. This OH will leave and this H will leave, and you close the ring. Okay, whenever you come across these problems, this is how you will do it. So there are quite some questions in the assignment, so you should be able to do that now.